What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Real Estate Rundown. I am Elliot, joined with Jason and Kayla today, but we are missing one of them. One of us.
Keith.
Where you at, bro? This is like 3 out of 4 of the last ones you've been gone.
Yeah, I
He's
know.
got a newborn.
He does. He's got he's got some dad obligations. I don't know what's going on.
Well, hey,
convenient, bro.
I'm glad to be with you
Yes,
guys here today, and we got a lot to talk about. Bitcoin's on a tear.
Yep.
Well, it was up, and then it's down a little bit. And how does that play into housing? We're going to talk a little bit about the Homes.com ad spend, $1 billion. It's the largest ad spend ever dedicated to real estate.
Well, something big just happened, right? A couple days ago. American holiday, as most people refer to it as.
Are we talking about the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah, this little event called the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Yes.
200 million people. Actually, it was a record this year. So this is the most watched televised event in history.
Ever?
Ever.
It broke.
I think it was Taylor Swift. It was the Swifties.
Yeah. I watched a little meme where Roger Goodell was talking to Taylor Swift, and it said like, you know, it was like someone saying like, hey, yeah, if it doesn't go well with you and Travis Kelce, there's plenty of other bachelors in the NFL that would love to hook you up with.
That's
well,
funny.
I saw a thing where it's actually, I don't know how you'd quantify this, but she's basically more famous by herself than the entire NFL.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past her.
I
She's
think
like
That's
the most
insane.
famous person
They
on the
showed
planet.
her
That's
like
insane.
probably, I would guess, 30 to 40 times.
Oh,
during
did they
the Super
really?
Bowl.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
it was that much.
Before and after, like they showed her like in the suite, you know, like walking in and getting off a plane and all this. It's just.
I remember when she
It's
came in from her
wild.
concert
It's
on
like,
the
okay.
on game day. Taylor Swift lands at LAX, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I didn't think she was that
Carly had
popular.
told me
I didn't
about it.
realize that she was that popular.
No,
To-
I think she is literally the most famous person on the planet.
Especially for
I thought
for
Michael Jackson was. Oh, wait,
females.
not
Michael
anymore.
Jackson's not been with us forever.
Well, it was Tiger Woods for a long time too. That dude was
Tiger
mad
Woods,
famous.
So about the Super Bowl, what about that Homes.com ad kickoff?
I thought it was pretty lame. You know,
What?
Yeah. I thought
You
it
didn't
was-
like them?
No.
The big champagne.
If I
thing
had
kinda
spent
fell
millions
flat
of dollars
me.
for that, I'd be like, eh. I mean, they had some good celebrities, and I guess.
Well, and the whole, like, I didn't get it, like, because, I mean, I will say, as we were, you know, kind of preparing for right now, we watched that little preamble commercial where they're up in the skyrise and they figure out their slogan, doing your homework, right?
They're in the
the
boardroom.
janitor figured it out.
Exactly, the janitor, and then when he walks in and does the takeover, like, but there's no context for me on that too. Like, why is he taking over Homes.com? We all know it's Andy Florence who's sitting in the boardroom, but that's what I was just like.
Was he actually in the boardroom?
Yes.
Andy Florence, yeah, was
He was in the
actual-
commercial?
yeah,
Yeah,
in
he
the
was.
commercial.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's what I just said. He had
Yes.
his our buddy moment.
How did I miss that? I had no idea. I thought he was just a regular corporate guy that was. in
No.
there.
Well, probably because he looks like a regular
looks like a
corporate
regular
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
And he looks like your average billionaire.
Well, he
So
literally
is-
takes down Andy Florence's picture, and then put up his
Oh,
picture.
That was Andy Florence's
Yeah.
picture. Okay.
I
got
Was
believe
it?
so.
Was
I'm
that-
not sure
I
on
don't
that.
know
I
if that
believe
was
so.
the case. But yeah. But
Wow,
anyway. Yeah. So he was definitely. I don't think it was the picture of Andy Florence. Actually,
We'll have to watch it again.
Because like Andy Florence is sitting on the side. There's like 3 other dudes over here. And anyway, but
He bought a helicopter.
Yeah.
They're like all these, you know, the old conservative guys being like, he's coming in spending all kinds of money.
So I think for me, what worked is I thought they did a good job of driving home that they're going to get more local information. And so like that's
Yeah.
one of the things like you look at these big sites like Zillow and Redfin and Realtor and that hyper local information, because what do we know? Like all real estate is hyper local.
Absolutely.
And so Homes.com is really making a play at come here and you will find out the deets of your neighborhood, not just like market data, but like what's going on in the community. So that
But
worked
do people
for
really
me.
give a crap about that until they actually see houses that they like?
I think they do. I think that there's a lot of people that search based on community, and then from community they search for a home.
You know,
Yes.
Well, and I
absolutely.
think, I mean, obviously something we might know a little bit about, the creating a tool that is intuitive for what you own, but then also potentially, you know, the portal wars is a real thing. And so if you can get those eyeballs of where people are potentially looking, but then also a tool that they come back to have the insight on their existing assets, I think it carries a lot of power.
Well, it just goes to show they're spending $1 billion that there's a lot of money in real estate.
There's a ton of money in real estate, and I
might
think
be.
for all you realtors out there, it is way easier to draft off demand than create demand. So how can you take advantage of Homes.com spending $1 billion in the marketplace and siphon off some of that attention for yourself? Jason and I were talking about this the other day, and I'm personally of the sentiment that you're not going to keep a consumer off of the big sites. What do you guys think?
It's impossible. Literally impossible.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, when I worked with some buyers, I mean, they send me Zillow and
Absolutely.
Redfin ads, or obviously,
Realtor.com.
I always try to tell them like, hey, not everything's available on those sites because they don't have the quick
quick
and dirty
feed
stuff.
updates.
Yeah.
Although I will say it's
Or
getting
a lot of
lot
them
better.
Well, a lot of them.
lot better.
Way better.
The trick where agents can put it as active with contingencies, and it still shows up as active.
That is,
And
yeah,
so
that's a thing.
what happens is the people see these properties and then they send them to you and they're like, why didn't I get this one? Well, because it's really pending, but
Yeah,
it's just
not-
it's
it's
active with
under
contingencies,
contract.
and so that's why I always tell them that don't look at those because it'll screw you up.
But though, when I put my home buyer hat on,
Oh yeah, I'm always looking at Redfin and Zillow.
Exactly.
Well, and not only that, like I think that Zillow, like some of the trends that it can give in a property, I mean, all of them are that way, and I think a lot of the IDXs are decent.
Yeah.
But when you look at some of the projections, the schools, the different ratings, and little particulars, that if you're going to get granular on a property, Redfin, Zillow, Homes.com, they all possess some data that your IDXs don't.
I think one of the most underrated ones is Movoto. I mean, it's pretty
Yep.
hot, platform. It looks pretty cool.
It does look cool. So, hey,
I do love that one, especially one of the things I like that they did that doesn't exist is that little is basically like the virtual walkthrough of the property, how you can upload the photos and it kind of gives that experience. Pretty cool.
did you guys hear that Zillow launched an integration with the Apple Vision Pro?
Well, I heard it from you yesterday, and I absolutely knew that something like that was coming around the corner.
So it's like every step of the way technology is looking to disrupt the agent. But 1000 Watt just did some research, and what they found is that half of all Americans know 6 or more realtors personally. 20% said,
Half?
yeah,
Okay.
half of all of Americans. Yeah,
150 million people, 175
Crazy.
million people.
20% know at least 11.
Wow, 20%?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They know
I mean,
at
that would-
least
that's
11 realtors. How crazy is that?
I wonder what it's like in markets
Wow.
like California, Phoenix, Florida. I mean, I realize it's state of California.
We've talked about
Phoenix,
this before.
yeah.
You can throw a stone and hit a realtor.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe it bounces and hits another one. Like there are a lot of us. So it's difficult to disrupt this many, right?
It is, and I think that's where, it's just to me, it's an opportunity to have that. So many agents, they are looking for these differentiators, right? Because so many times it's, hey, I know 5 realtors, right? When you actually think about that, half of America, that actually spins my mind up for a second, where they know 6. I mean, that means you're competing against 5 people at a minimum every time you go talk to somebody about buying or selling.
It's pretty insane. How many though, like you may know 6, but would you want them to know your intimate financial details? I think that can play a part in it. I mean,
Agreed.
I know that when Jason and I were selling Hot and Heavy, we worked with many people that chose us because we didn't know their sphere. We didn't know their people.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they felt that
definitely is
like
true for me,
having that
Yeah, like-
separation was beneficial for them.
So and so's brother's an agent, but we just don't really want to use them because it's just too much intimate knowledge.
Yeah. Yep. Or like if something goes wrong, they didn't want it to like
it's true.
Well,
Yeah.
and for me, it was it also worked as the other way too. Like they knew them personally, and that wasn't exactly, even though they were friends with them, that wasn't the type of business. They didn't possess the business acumen that they wanted because of they were assessing them on their other behaviors. So when you can show that you can get the job done in a time that makes sense and in a fashion that makes sense for them and their family, a lot of times we got the job.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. So NAR's recent membership report came out, and it looks like we are losing agents. So in 2023, we lost 32,221 realtors from NAR. And
No.
hey, goodbye. So membership came down a little bit, but Lawrence Yen, the chief economist for NAR, pointed out that during the great financial crisis, almost 400,000 realtors washed out. So, 32,000 is like a nothing burger compared to between 2008 and 2012 when 400,000 exited.
It was a coaching session that I had done, I don't know, probably 18 months ago, and I ran the numbers on what you were talking about, where there was basically like 400,000 agents that had fallen off. And the crazy thing is when you did the math on the amount of transactions per the agent, it actually almost washed out to be very, very similar. So, I mean, to me, that's where I think that last year, I think may have been that microcosm, right? Because we lost, I mean, if you're taking the total annual numbers where we had 6 million transactions, roughly 6 million transactions in 22, and it fell all the way to 4 million transactions in 23, that's a 33% hit in overall home sales. So that's pretty, I mean, which is pretty substantial. I know not every market was hit that way. Like I think here in the Phoenix metro, we were only hit like 8% or 10. I don't remember what the
I don't
exact
remember.
number.
It was
substantial. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty substantial.
Definitely substantial. But my point is there's so many agents, I think, that they get caught up in a lot of this freak out mode and certain things. And when the math actually levels out, it ends up being okay.
So, here's the thing. We know that last year home sales were at a 28-year low. And Bill...
1995, right? That was the year it was the low.
Yes, 1995, yes. And what's also interesting is everyone's kind of projecting that this year is going to be better. Mm-hmm. However, there's some recent analysis from Bill McBride with the Calculated Risk blog, and he went through and analyzed all of the active listings, all of the new listings, and he went back, through the Januaries of decades past. And based on the data, he's actually saying that this year could be a decrease. Yeah.
Woo!
So we could see less home sales this year, resale home sales.
I think he might be right because I mean, man, you just think the presidential year, usually the rates drop, but we had some hot inflation that came in today.
Yep.
And like people are saying like maybe there's not going to be as many rate cuts this year
as they thought.
They thought 6, and now it's like 5, and people are pointing towards 4, and then 3, and some people are saying we may not get any rate cuts this year.
Well, I wonder if they're going to do something in
stunning.
the bond market because, I mean, again, history I feel like does repeat itself.
But what would they do with the bond market?
I don't know. Infuse money in it like they did before, where they basically lower the bonds and make it more advantageous for everybody to come in and buy them.
But that would be cutting rates.
Yeah, that's cutting rates.
That's what cutting rates does.
I don't, and they're scared. Really is what's going on. They're scared because if they drop rates, people are gonna start buying homes, and then it's gonna make the economy start to take off again.
Not only buying, but refining. You look at consumer debt and how it's like teetering at the top. And what we know is if people can get a better rate, I mean, they're already refining. When rates came down, even into the mid 6s, we saw like a little bit of a refi surge.
Boom, yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot, but historically from when rates were high, it was. So it's going to be interesting.
And you got the commercial bubble possibly bubbling up. Maybe
that's the one. That's actually the thing that makes me nervous is the commercial bubble because the calamity of that could hit pretty wide.
Okay, so what happens? Let's talk through that. What happens if if all of these small businesses and medium and mid and large businesses default on their commercial assets? What happens?
Well, for example, let's just
Bank
say
runs?
Banks die.
That's my biggest
banks
concern
die.
is bank runs.
Yep.
And then if you have other banks that are in the similar position that Silicon Valley Bank was in,
Oh, man.
where they bought all those T-bills at
Yep.
like insanely low. It was just crazy.
Yep.
And they were largely divested in that. I don't know. So what happens though?
Yeah, I mean, I think even like you said before, where it's on, real estate happens on the local level. Like even if I just look at it from like a mom and pop business, the rate, their lease space goes up to a place that they can't afford. They have to potentially vacate, and now there's this mass. And I'm just using this in a microcosm. There's a mass exodus based on that for whether it be a center, a city, etc. A lot of that stuff can roll downhill in a lot of ways. I mean, you're talking potential job loss. I mean, the largest employer in America outside of the U.S. government, or no, small business is the largest employer. So again, I mean, if that gets massively hit, you're talking about jobs. Not like they're not going to be able to go somewhere else, but I mean, cost of operation is a real thing. And if the cost of operation exceeds their revenue, well, they're in the delta and they're in trouble.
So what I've been hearing is that yes, it's an election year. Rates should come down, which should spur some market activity. However, because it's likely to be a very hotly debated presidential election, that can cause a lot of uncertainty and overwhelm. And when people feel uncertain and when they feel overwhelmed, they're likely
Sit
to
and don't do anything.
Yes, not
I totally
do anything.
remember that in 2016. I know it happened somewhat in 2020, but 2016, because I was still, selling, on the day in and day out then. And having so many people saying, yeah, I'm interested, but I'm not doing anything until the election. Yep.
You're like, why? Like, what?
What's the election going to do?
Yeah.
But it does impact people's lives. And so that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But hey, I think what we're all looking at is the rise of Bitcoin. And it just surged yesterday. It hit over 50 for the first time since 2021?
Yeah, well, a long time. And it went over 50. Came down a little bit today because of the hot inflation, but there's a.
That means that's you're not gonna get the big dip anymore. Probably you're gonna get only these little coffee cup dips, right? Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah. I think these big ETFs are buying up Bitcoin on the daily. We got the halving happening in the next 60 days. So that's coming up. So that means there's going to be less supply and more demand, and it's causing it to continue to go up. And a lot of people are saying that it could
Hit 100K.
100K by the end of the year, which definitely could. Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll see.
Did you guys see Jack Dorsey was at the Super Bowl and he had a shirt on that said Satoshi and it was like in their Nirvana font with
I didn't see that.
Nirvana.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, that made me think of that with talking about Bitcoin. How can you not think of him when you Satoshi, not Jack? But anyway, how can we leverage Bitcoin to buy houses?
How can we? Are you asking me? There's this little company called Milo,
Milo. How do you spell it?
Milo, Milo.
Okay.
And they will allow you to, what is it called? What's the word I'm looking for?
Collateralize
your Bitcoin.
Okay.
To get a loan for a house. So basically, you want to buy a $500,000 house, and you may have $500,000 in Bitcoin, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because Bitcoin's going to $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say.
So you're like, oh shoot, I want to buy this house. Maybe I don't, I can't get approved, but I have this Bitcoin. So what they'll do is they'll take custody of your Bitcoin, collateralize it, give you the $500,000 to buy the property. Now you have a loan, and you have to pay off the loan. You have a monthly payment. And that Bitcoin is still yours. So maybe that Bitcoin rises to that $100,000 at the end of the year, and it's worth $1 million by the time in a couple years. You could say, all right, well now I want to I'm going to liquidate half my Bitcoin, pay off my loan. Now I have, and then they give you your Bitcoin back. So
which is awesome.
There's some opportunity there if you believe Bitcoin is going to the moon and it's going to continue going up. which a lot of people do. It's definitely something you can do to purchase some real estate.
Well, how cool is that you can technically get a loan and still have an appreciating asset and you're monetizing off of it? I mean, you can't go get a loan and make money on your loan.
Two appreciating assets. You
got
your
house
and your house and your Bitcoin.
Right.
All working to.
How come they don't allow you to leverage your 401k in that regard?
You would sure as heck think so.
I think they do, but only for investment properties. I think it's
okay. You can.
There's something you can do with your 401k.
You can collateralize
IRA or something like that.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
Yeah, there's a way you can do it.
Got it. Okay, so very cool. I had posted an Instagram reel on Bitcoin, and someone had commented and said that basically Bitcoin was like a white privilege asset.
Really?
Yeah, and he made a good point. I mean, it sounds funny. It sounds silly when you first think of it, and I wish I could find the comment like quickly, and I can't. But
I don't remember being on Robinhood buying Bitcoin and it's saying that. Are you white?
I know. That's what I was gonna say. It's not like it.
The reasoning, because I asked, like, help me understand like where you're coming from with that, right? And so I dug deeper into the comment, and what I uncovered is that there's a barrier of entry to buying Bitcoin, and the barrier of entry is likely higher, and it's likely going to favor more educated white men.
Well, but is that, with all due respect, they have access to Google. They have access there as long as their fingers works and they can read and watch YouTube and pay attention to chart or graphs, and charts as Jay talks about. And I mean, I guess that's obviously not this, but well, it is on some aspects. But just what I'm getting at is they have the opportunity to educate themselves the same way. It's not like the knowledge is being pumped or downloaded for free.
Actually, it's quite the opposite. It's actually, I think it's actually usually what happens with these assets that explode in value is Wall Street gets them. They start buying them. They get in first. And then retail investors start to buy them. This is the opposite. When Bitcoin came about, retail investors are the ones who bought that up and started buying it and buying it and buying it. And now the ETFs are coming in when it's at it was at $48,000 when they got approved. So you can't say that's a white privilege, because you got a Jamie Dimon that says
he was poo-pooing.
Bitcoin's trash and blah blah blah, but then they're the ones that are doing the Bitcoin ETF for BlackRock.
Isn't that funny how he was that way for years, and then I guess it's been probably like the last 6 months he's completely changed his tune.
No, he hasn't changed his tune.
No, I thought he was publicly. He publicly changed his tune.
He says no, he doesn't believe Bitcoin's anything. He actually recently just said that he thinks the government should shut it down. Why
are they like buying it up in the background then?
Well, because what he says doesn't mean that he
what he actually believes.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It's an interesting thought. So for the average homeowner that, is accumulating a little bit of Bitcoin, maybe a little bit of wealth, how can they leverage that Bitcoin to also buy a home?
How can you leverage to Bitcoin to buy a house? Buy Bitcoin.
Same way?
Same way.
Yeah, well, a simple, if you did it, right? You could cash out 401k or an investment strategy, buy Bitcoin. If it goes on this run that we're talking about, you get a return. You could cash out that return to help put it down on a down payment. If you want to get really risky, if you're sitting on a boatload of equity, you could always refi your house, pull that cash out. Maybe you don't want to do it with today's costs, but right, you could do those things. If you can create liquid cash and you're doing it through the asset, it works both ways. If you have the asset from the stock market or an ETF, whatever that gives you the cash, you could put that in real estate. If real estate's making you the cash, then you can cash that out, because now that's the asset, and then you buy it the other way. It works both ways.
So the other day during one of our team meetings, one of our property analysts, Tushar, who's really into investing, he had asked a question to everybody, like, how do you decide how to invest your assets either into, real estate or into like equities? And it was interesting to kind of roundtable that and hear what everybody thought. But definitely diversification is good.
Sell everything, buy Bitcoin.
You've been all in on it. You and Keith
Yeah.
are so in all in. I'm like,
Well, it's
We're not all in on it, but
No,
not
all in.
all in
I don't
at
mean
all.
all
but
in. But
yeah. I think about 30% of my portfolio is in Bitcoin. So,
well,
but so it's just pretty high.
yeah.
But
Yes, that is high.
I follow a lot of people that 100% is all in Bitcoin. So
that's a little scary.
That is, I mean, especially because I think that there's a lot of plays with different coins, right? Like, I mean, to me, I mean,
Yeah, but
Ethereum,
but
Ethereum is obviously starting to make.
But if Bitcoin goes down, everything
Everything else
underneath
goes
is going to go
down, yeah.
down. So
Yeah.
Bitcoin's the only one that's
It's the trendsetter?
No, it's the one that's available. The one that the government says, yeah, you can have it.
I see what you mean.
And now there's still people think that the government could come in and say, hey, we're taking all your Bitcoin. They're going to shut down the ETS and take all the Bitcoin. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but
I think as other countries turn to Bitcoin over their own currency, we're going to see a rise in its
you got
value.
El Salvador. El Salvador is all Bitcoin. You go to El Salvador, you gotta have Bitcoin to buy stuff.
That's pretty wild.
It's
Yeah.
very wild.
We got was it Argentina that is very bullish on Bitcoin. Yeah, there's a lot of things changing.
That's actually a really unique thought, right? Like when you go back way in times and you had like shekels and like clay, currency exchange, right? Like the whole money. Like I've lightly looked into it through time, and this could be one of those times, right? Like where, I mean, let's face it. I mean, the American dollar obviously is it sets the benchmark for so many things worldwide, but it's also like the actual tangible money is a bit of a dying thing.
Yeah, you can't go to a bank and go. You have $1 million in a bank.
Yeah,
You're not going to walk into the bank and be like, hey, I need $100,000. They'll be like, oh, what do you mean you need $100,000? Like, in cash?
they don't even have it. You have to special
it
order.
may take
cash.
a week or two to get $100,000. Wait, I got $1 million in the bank. Give me $100,000. Well,
Yep.
we're gonna have to talk to our manager here. Hold on a second.
I know.
But if you're Lil Wayne in the Homes.com commercial, you're going to show the class what it looks like.
Or if you're if you're Floyd Mayweather, you just keep the cash in the safe.
Oh dear.
I think he keeps like, I don't know, something obnoxious, $5 million plus cash
So
in his house.
Stupid. Let's
Wow.
keep a depreciating asset in our house. Like,
Mattress.
well, yeah. I guess there's many depreciating assets in my house. So,
Oh well, absolutely. Everything but your house is
Yeah.
depreciating, flat out. Everything, other than us, we are appreciating. Right?
That's-
We are like fine wine.
that is for sure.
All right, what I got in some advice today is actually kind of just peeling it back a little bit. I think that like what we're talking about today with the election, the lawsuits, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, right? Sometimes you just need to clear out that noise. And so what I want to give to you in that is really what you will focus on will absolutely expand. And so giving you a bit of a nugget, like if you need to land a deal right now, sometimes it comes down to what is the action that you're taking that is going to work best for you. Number one, you need to find something that you're actually going to do in a consistent manner. So that could be posting on social media, making videos. That could be making phone calls. That could be creating an email that you're going to send out. But what I really want to encourage everybody to do is to get consistent in that particular action. And again, what you're going to double down and focus on is exactly what's going to come through for you, and be clear on those particular lead sources, right? So you can always work smarter. Like, for example, one of the things that Kayla had uncovered is in 2023, 50-something% of all transactions that happened in 2023 tied back to the baby boomer generation. So work smart, double down, be effective, and be consistent. That's always the biggest thing, right? So stop looking for the magic pill and get to work.
Consistency is the biggest underrated.
The most underrated quality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Man, it's like people today. People are just like it doesn't happen now.
Everybody,
It's not gonna happen. I can't do it then.
Yeah, they all. I mean, for lack of better terms, they all want to take the magic pill.
Yep.
Well, we live in an Amazon Prime
We do.
society.
We
You
do.
get it now. All right, so viral vibes. What's going viral? Valentine's Day, and sadly, the singles tax when you're renting a home. So Zillow uncovered that the singles tax, or the cost to own a home if you're single, is now a premium of $7,100 in the U.S. So that is how much more you're going to spend to live alone than if you were to partner up and have a roommate. Kind of sad, but the cost of living has increased, and so have rents.
I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, you go on a cruise single, you pay more, right?
Yeah.
It does make sense, but it keeps increasing, and so that was on average. Obviously, in places like New York City, it can be as much as $40,000.
I know, but for a tax, I mean,
I'll
like,
have Colby post it in the video. There's
So
a
it
little graphic that
pays to
shows.
cohabitate.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oddly. Do you have a market minute for us, Jay?
Oh, mine was the
Bitcoin.
the Milo.
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 Check out Milo. If you have Bitcoin, you can get a loan. Yeah, the interest rates are a little bit high, but I'm hearing that there's going to be more companies coming into this as Bitcoin is more. I don't know what the word is. Available and people trust it more. I think there's going to be more mortgage companies that are doing this. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah,
cool.
and the only thing too, I want to like put an exclamation point on what we were talking about before on that too, is like do yourself a favor. You absolutely are smart enough. You can absolutely do the research. You can absolutely check out the videos, learn those little things, and be smart about it. Start off You don't have to like throw a bunch of money in right away where you're
a lot of
broke.
people think that Bitcoin's $48,000 or $50,000. You don't have to buy
A Bitcoin.
one Bitcoin. You could buy a Satoshi,
Yeah.
which is a percentage, a very small percentage of a Bitcoin, which
And
is
if-
going to be like $1 to you. So
If you really want some good late night entertainment. So last night I finished like washing my face, brushing my teeth, got my jammies on, like hopped into bed, cozied up to Jason, and he's on his phone and he's got his AirPods in, and I'm like, trying to get some attention. And he goes, I'm watching Bitcoin After Dark. And I'm like, what the heck is Bitcoin After Dark? So he takes out his AirPods and like plays it for me. And it's some dude that's like live streaming the chart of Bitcoin going
right.
down
Well,
and up. And he's like,
go 49.
Yeah,
750,
he's like-
49,
he's
Hey,
like-
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna watch.
like
All right, it's going
late
over.
night DJ voice talking to Bitcoin on the chart,
Wow.
trying to get it to top 50.
There was some elevator music in the background.
It was pretty
Yeah.
hilarious. So hey, you
Bitcoin
always
After
have
Dark.
you always have that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll leave you with that
And
today.
if you want to learn more about Bitcoin, follow a guy named Michael Saylor. There's some good information on him, and he'll talk to you about Bitcoin.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.